All right, up here at Silverleaf Golf Club in Silverleaf, located in Scottsdale. Really excited to participate in a Q&A discussion panel for Desert Design Week, which is an amazing week that happens twice a year for the world of high-end art, design, everything real estate related, and then what accentuates real estate. So looking forward to that panel. See you soon. Good morning, Nick McCulley, McCulley Construction. We do large-scale renovation addition to estate-level homes. We do not build new. We only do reno. We are very good at the one thing, and we feel like it's completely different than building new, so we just don't cross that line. Also happy to be here. Most of our work, basically Desert Mountain to Silverleaf DC Ranch and then Arcadia Paradise Valley. So kind of that L shape right through the heart of the estate-level homes. That's where we focus. So we're kind of the ones tasked with ensuring that amazing design doesn't die in the field with improper execution. So in what's probably the most difficult kind of residential construction to do is mixing old and new, and even with plans, not knowing what's behind a wall. So it's every day is exciting. Icebreaker. I would say make the hard decisions early. Make them, commit to them, and then move forward. Don't wait on hard decisions. Hard decisions not made early lead to severe compromise later. And so make those early.
This back, so we're going to be going back on Remodel.
What about you? Yes, so I was going to answer that as well. And I would say have a budget in mind. Have a budget from the get-go, because there's nothing worse than getting to the point of almost being ready to build and getting the numbers in, and that drain just kind of visibly because you can't build it. So have a budget, tell all your consultants, make sure everyone's on the same page from the get-go. Thank you.
Perfect. We're off to a good start. Okay. So let's just jump into this. Today's theme is the invisible decisions that make a home exceptional. The things you don't see but feel every day. And I'm going to start with Holly, being the designer. First question that I have for you is, what's one invisible decision that has the biggest impact on a home?
Gosh, I feel like, well, I'm sort of jumping off of what Scranton said. I think a home that is well curated and has a story that goes from one end to the very end, meaning like not only just from one end of the house to the other side, but everything that is curated into a palette that is all stems from the schematic design phase. So we really feel it's important to create a narrative in our projects right up front, meaning like a story, what the house is going to feel like and what people want to feel when they walk into the home. And then everything comes back to that, because the world is filled with Instagram and Facebook ideas. A lot of it now with AI is not even real. And I think being in sync with your design team and really understanding where you're starting from and not letting go of that through the design process gives this like peaceful feeling. Like everything fits. It doesn't matter what the design is, if it's modern or traditional or maximalist. If there is consistency in the home, you will feel that. It'll be energizing or peaceful all the way throughout the home. And I think that's an important thing. It's not that it's invisible, but it's maybe something that you just know the house feels good. And it's like reading a good novel.
It's a great answer. Nick, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes. Almost piggybacks off of that and a little bit of my icebreaker, but being very intentional about the layout and the structural intent of the house, the systems, the mechanicals, the plumbings. Nobody sees those, but they make all the difference in the world. And an amazing design cannot save a house that has bad bones and a bad layout.
Spoken like a true remodeler. Okay, the next question is going to be for you, Strap. Where do clients tend to focus too much and where not enough?
I think clients kind of get fixated on the square footage, and this might be driven from the real estate market, resale in Arizona, and sometimes they lose sight of the details or the story that they're trying to tell or create. I think a lot of people in Arizona are, sometimes it's a little bit of transient population, and everyone's always thinking about the next thing and the next phase of their life. And I think it's nice to pause and think about your project, think about what makes it special, and not worry about square footage as much, but think about how the space flows, how, the indoor-outdoor works with your landscapes. Think of design less in the numbers and more in the details, the quality of life you're getting. And I think one of the benefits of architecture design and where technology is taking it is it's allowing us to see that up front. You're able to visualize this and not have any questions and not really just analyze numbers at the end of the day, but analyze almost like a finished product early in the design process.
Do you guys want to add on anything to that? You answered it.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Well, that leads me to, and this is going to be for my remodeler friend. What's something that's very hard to fix later that's not done right up front?
Everything after drywall. I mean, if it's framed and the MEPs are done and I've drywalled it and then you want a wall 4 feet in a different direction, it's going to be wildly expensive and time consuming. So again, it just goes back to the intent of the space, the flow, how you want to use it, being very, very intentional about how you want to use that space. So that once it's built, once the rough is done, it gets expensive to undo it.
And
I think one thing that we're really careful about is after we make everything look so beautiful, we go back and we inventory Ketel's really heavily used space, but kitchens, master bathrooms, and closets. How do people live? How do they cook? How do they entertain? Maybe they have they like to bake. And so making sure that the programming is right before we get to shop drawings and making sure that everything has a place that's tucked away. It's not necessarily a really expensive modification, but that comes so late in the project. If you realize you have it programmed to space to hold all this stuff and have a place for it, it can be very frustrating and cumbersome for the designer too, because they're like, what is this toaster doing out? They're like, well, we use it every day. It's not for it, so.
Okay, and I'll add onto that, kind of going with what Nick was saying, proportion and scale. So again, the question was, what's something that's very hard to fix later if it's not done right up front? Proportion and scale, room sizes, ceiling height, window placement, and those are off. No finish selections can fully make it right. And one of the things on the CAMLOT side of the business that I've heard through the realtor community and through our clients is our ability to have a sense of place and scale and it feels right. One of the biggest compliments that I got from a client is they said when we walked into the house, it felt like it just hugged you. It just felt so warm. So look at that. Oh, but now let's go on to collaboration as the next topic to cover. So none of these decisions happen in a vacuum. I'm going to start with Nick. What's a moment where collaboration either made or broke a project?
I can tell you about lots of breaks.
Those are the good stories.
Yeah. So, I mean, really for us, and we won't even touch a project if it doesn't have a designer. I mean, hard stop. I'm just not going to do it. But the lack of collaboration, meaning there's not a designer, there's not an architect, and they're not talking from day one. The planning process is 95% of the success or failure in the project. It's easy to do the build if it's planned right. And so communicating that, working through budget, talking about the ups and downs of different finish selections. When we get a set of plans that's just done or an architect or a design specifications book, and we're just coming in then, it's always a surprise for everybody as far as if it's going to work, if it's not going to work. So just being involved as early as possible is really what makes it or breaks it from our experience.
Right. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that.
Do you want to name this one?
That pulls their fun. I want everyone to leave on a positive note, but if there's a fun night nurse, I always hear it.
Yeah, well, we've been doing this for a long time, and we have a project in Austin, Texas that's about a $15 million home in the end. We started on a renovation 3 years ago. The client asked for to stay around a $1.5 million for renovation costs, and we put some plans together. He brought his builder, and I said, great, I'm going to do some floor plans and just some general finishes and plumbing. Please price the design for our homeowner so he can really understand if we're within budget or we're not. And I hadn't worked in that community before, so I didn't really have a sense for the construction costs. And he kept nodding, oh yeah, we're in budget. And we went through all CDs, It's a big set. It's a big house. And we started construction and the costs exceeded 2, and then they exceeded 3 million. Oh my. He's at over $5 million. And there was no conversation with the client about budget. So guess who looks that? It's the designer, right? Because we're like, why did you design something so expensive? But I think the collaboration is really important. I knew it wasn't going to be a good fit when we started construction. And he said to number one, please don't make me do construction meetings with the design team. And I thought, oh, he's going to make me, the bad guy or the scapegoat for his lack of putting a budget together. And it's going to be a beautiful project. I'm sure it'll be published. And he's got the value there. So you move forward with. But the process was so stressful for the homeowner. And that's where the collaboration really comes into play. And I think, there's no way to get out of it. He's already in the midst of it. And I think that is really unfortunate. It doesn't have to be that way. Yeah.
I'll quickly add that, just finish up for you, but we do mostly ground up, but we do take on a few remodels, maybe 1 or 2 a year. And usually it's a case where it's past client, we're working on another project, and they kind of call us in to fix a bigger problem, right? It's usually late, and it says, unfortunately, they have a builder and they had maybe a designer, and they didn't have an architect on planning the ductwork, the beams, and all this stuff. So it's really a team effort that, at whatever scale you're taking on, you should involve all parties early on. I think that's going to lead to more conversations next, but it's, don't call us in too late because it hurts budgets, it hurts deadlines. We watch some of these remodels take years because of you go halfway through, you think you have design, then you spend 6 months unwinding and pausing, and it hurts everybody.
Hurts feelings a lot.
You don't want her feelings. Okay. Let me see here. My next question I'd love to hear from you guys is, what's one thing you wish the other disciplines understood better about your role? So it kind of piggybacks on collaboration, and within those efforts of collaboration, is there any insight that you would provide from that perspective? So I am going to start off with Ollie.
That's an interesting question. We have a lot of disciplines under one roof at JHL. So sometimes it's confusing for people to understand how to use our team. Because we have architects and interior designers on staff, we can do a lot of things. We do some ground up new construction, from architectural way to design. But we're also so collaborative that we love working with other talented architects. And I think sometimes we get overlooked because they're afraid that we're going to come in and take over the architecture side and not stay in our lane. And I understand that. But one of the things that really, what's part of our core values is teamwork. And we really like to help everyone's business that's on the team. So we're working on a home right now that I'm the third design team. And that's really hard to step into because there's been so much already regurgitated design decisions, and the client's fatigued and the architect's scared because he wants his project built. And so we're really balancing this vernacular of what's been established, on things like how is the stair coming down at their structure. We need to be able to understand what we can change and what we can't change. And because of our team and how layered we are, we really understand that. So they were bracing themselves to hire us because we're a bigger team. And they really wanted the one designer that works by herself because they wanted to be able to have Christine Verlaine or him. But what they've understood now is that we're helping build this project so much faster and understanding. So I think interior design is so different. There's a lot of everything from decor to interior architecture to picking tile and flooring. And I think the facet of what we do is a little bit more complicated because of how structured we are. The collaboration is the heartbeat of what we do. I'm not to do. Do you have any to do?
Yeah, as Harmstex, it's explaining what we do with the clients and also to design team, and even the design community, our role. With architects, we have multiple different positions we could play, but a good architect's kind of mapping your lifestyle in a floor plan on your site that you're selecting. Not only are we moving pieces around two-dimensionally, but in our head, we're planning three-dimensionally as we go through this. And I think that's someone who's gone through this process, or builders and designers say wash or helped architects through this process, Elmar's, it is about mapping to measure it, but it's also, there's things happening in 3D going to work on hillsides like this. It's not just mapping where your driveways go. It's how this elevation is going to feel. It's all about view corridors and things like that. And that's something that when you're dealing with a client that sometimes feels like they can design a house for you, they start kind of almost drawing it for you, right? But you have to help guide them together. It's their own, their project, but we have to kind of together knit all their wants and their desires on these really challenging homes. And that's kind of what we get called in for, is the trickier projects.
I'm going to add next. You have one
Sure.
more.
So I'd say it's a little less now, but we have experienced that construction isn't just execution. Just because the plans are done, it's not exactly easy to execute, right? So we're responsible for we're taking the intent and creating the reality of that. And so small decisions, whether they're made later or late, have massive impacts to everything. Time being the most expensive of all the things that you could have a cost to. So, it's just a small little change is never really translates in real life. So really just being intentional, and then again, the collaboration from day one to avoid that.
My next question was gonna be when is it ideal to bring everyone in? But I think we've gotten that answer as far as from the get-go. So I'm gonna skip to a next discussion, which is always a hot topic, and that is budget. So budget is a high priority for all of us. And I would ask, how do you protect the integrity of design when budget pressure hits? I'd love to hear from our designers, either Stratton.
Perfect. Budgets are tricky, right? We have tight budgets, we have huge budgets, and everywhere in between. It's kind of extracting that out of meeting 1 and 2. And the nice thing about where we are in the design world and what we can do with technology is we vet options quickly too. So you come to us and you say, this double island versus the single island is going to cost you another $50,000. And we can kind of show you with a rendering, do you want to do it, right? And I think quite a bit of clients have the ability to reach for that double island if they really want to. Yes, it might take an extra year of work and it might take a little bit of this, but it's us as a team presenting them what it could be or what it isn't. And sometimes we just say the double island was too much. It was, it filled the room and took away from, the circulation of the outside. But I think we're in such a nice era where homeowners shouldn't have to just look at a budget from a builder and say, man, I'm $1 million over budget. What do I do? We should go sit down as a team then and say, well, what do we do? And usually, to be honest, the homeowners cut the pieces out and then we show them what they cut and they add it right back.
Yeah, every time.
It's the visuals that we're able to show them that justifies the spend. And I know some projects have hard budgets, but a lot of people just want to make sure that they're making with the educated decision on process.
Hi. Yeah, we just had a call yesterday. Our project is at renovation, basement renovation. It's beautiful, mid-century on the lake. And we're about $200,000 over budget. And it's a big percentage of what they wanted to spend. So it's always a little deflating because you want to be right on budget. But we went through, I think, with the builder behind the scenes and said, okay, what are looking at the numbers of where can we flex to make us come in budget? And oftentimes they do come right back and want to spend more. Sometimes they don't. And I guess we're not really afraid of that. It's sometimes the design is even better if we have to dial it back. It makes us think harder. And we don't, shy away from that challenge or stomp our feet, think, oh, we just spend the money. And I think budget constraints force us to be more creative sometimes. But the question I think is really, how do you protect the design? And I think that comes back to, what is this home supposed to perform like for the people that are living there? And remembering what the most important things are, the spaces, what are the key spaces where they want to spend money? It's good to kind of go back to the base point that you started at and remind yourself where we need to be spending. A powder is a great place to make a slash, but that's probably not the client's ideal of where they want to spend. So just coming to the table, I think we try to do a pricing exercise during the schematic design phase or right shortly thereafter. So we kind of no guidepost, so there's no surprises. But clients keep designing, and for the design, so sometimes you have to make this adjustments towards the app. But
Let's see if we can expand a little bit on where you were going. My next question was, where can you scale back without losing impact? So we talked about once the design has been there and on pulling it back. What about just from the get-go? Someone comes to you and has a budget, and everyone here has their different budgets, but where do people just be mindful of still getting that beautiful house, but not having to spend a zillion dollars for it?
Yeah, I'll start at high level and probably get a little bit granular as we kind of pass down to interior designers. But I'd rather go after square footage and cut and not have any waste space in a living room or a kitchen than have to lose the materiality or the finishes that they put together. So it's our goal as a firm to create the most spectacular home possible, but not waste any square footage. So secondary bedrooms, secondary bathrooms, plazas, if the homeowner's okay with it, make them as tight as they can be that serves the needs possible. And then that saves some money in the budget for the designers and hopefully keep the builders happy at the end of the day.
We'll talk about mechanical.
Yeah, no. I actually, for us, the biggest thing that we see, and it's not my opinion, just full disclosure for all the designers out there, we see that clients will cut back on over detailing. What they feel is over detailing, where every single space is elite. Every inch of the project is elite. They'll pull back on that and just make every space beautiful and then pick their moments to shine. And that usually has a pretty big impact on the budget. And then from there, we usually see really great results out of that. And I don't think I've ever had a client say, I'm disappointed I pulled back and, took the bedazzling off the walls or, something like that. They're usually pretty happy with it. And it feels a little bit more comfortable.
is there bedazzled walls?
Yeah, I bedazzled a powder bath in Silverleaf for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just one thing that we really try to do, because interiors so layer, is to create budgets up front. So there's the core and shell of the home, which Stratton is putting together. Then there's the inside pieces. So we try to pencil budgets per area with clients. Kitchen remodels about this much, especially during a renovation when they have a long wish list. We say let's do a floor plan and what are your adjustments that you want to make? And then if your budget's $350,000, we're going to work on just these two rooms. We're not going to do the whole house and make it vanilla. Let's do quality. And if you have to phase it, we'll phase it. And then the other part of that is just establishing budgets all the way through. So for me, I want people to protect some of the funds for the furniture and art. So we usually do that right in the beginning. How much will you need to save for your furnishings? And people are usually surprised at what that amount is. But we feel it's really important to give people the entire budget up front so they can make educated decisions on administration psyche.
It's all amazing, amazing answers. I'm curious, in there, how many designers are there in the room? If there's a big as one and you some of this is just what you live day in and day out. What about builders? How many builders? Remodelers? All right. Amazing. Okay, I am going to go to the next question, which is what's worth investing that clients don't always realize? And I'm going to be a little self-serving in this and say who you hire. It really getting a good team. A home is a huge investment, and finding people that you trust. Those are gossip, but it's ineffable. So it's almost like when you get married, you got to go with someone that you trust. And then from there, the process can be fun if you have that foundation of trust. So.
One piece that I would kind of advise people on to not overthink or forget about is the person that's actually not sitting at this group, and it's landscape. We talked about the build, we talked about the design, everything between. But I think, this place, this building being put together is special, right? And I think it's special for the architecture and the place and the landscape it's in. but it's also 50% of it is because the landscape and what we're able to look out on. And no one talked about it, right? No one even realized that it's one of those, sometimes you don't perceive it. It's just something about the way you feel on space. And I think that's the missing piece that I would say gets cut with budgets big time. So and I think it completely changed not only the inside of your home, but the outside of your home. So there's only so much we can do as architects in bare landscape.
So if we skip the obvious of everything behind the walls, the mechanicals, the systems, I would say that paying a little bit more for the best craftsmanship you can get. The fit and finish between average and stellar is what, like, honestly, it's why people refer their clients, their friends, their family. Anybody can deliver an average finish. Not everybody can deliver an elite level finish. So spend the money on that.
Yeah, even with the proper oversight, I've had clients say,
Clients, especially in this community, have a sense of just
concern that just by going through the gate, there's a mark up to the trays. And I had someone that we're gonna potentially work with and say, well, you guys can just manage the trays because it's all management. No, it's workmanship. So I really appreciated that response. Yeah, thank you. Having, starting a newer division, a facet division, or some trades that focus just in on facet and trying to vet those trades and think, this person, we've gone and seen their work, and then an execution just did not work. So we had to bring someone that was more expensive back in to redo the work. So now it's more expensive and it takes more time.
not a fun exercise. And I appreciate your comment about landscape. We have a landscaper here, Haley. And she's amazing, a great speaker. She should be on this panel list if I was thinking. So thank you, Stratton. I did have a couple other people. I had someone that was out of town. So Faith, thank you. That is really something that is imperative to the construction, is getting that landscape, interior designer, and architect, all three in the room as you start the job. We are just humming. So I got a few more questions, and kind of they're rapid fire questions. So I will state them, and then I'll ask them if you need to ask it again. And then after this, I'm going to open it up to the room. One thing you would always prioritize in a home, one thing you would never do again, and one underrated detail that makes a big difference. And I'll start this time. Prioritize in a home, natural light. Like, there are so many places that we bring in natural light, even a closet. It's something. So I grew up in a home building company, or a home building family, and it's the little things that I witnessed. My dad is very into design, and I witnessed time and time again things like, need a window here, we need a window there. And it just so simple, but so impactful. In regards to one thing you would never do again, this goes back to what I communicated just a few moments ago, and that is underestimating the impact of the team, because the right trades make everything smoother and the wrong ones affect everything. And then one underrated detail that makes a big difference, I would say, just coming back to proportions, ceiling heights. When you walk into a space of this, the ceiling height is ginormous, and it just, you lose yourself. There's no sense of house and comfort that openly answers.
Yeah, your first one where I was going to start, but never overlook the scale of space. We started as architects, great volumes, and you could throw a whole project off from the budget to the design, the feeling you get in the space, bring from scale. So never overlook scale. Yesterday we were walking clients through 10 different projects through town, walking them, showing ceiling heights and gray room spaces, because they just could grasp what 12 feet was and what 20 feet was. They wanted somewhere in between. So that's the start project. And then what we'll tell them is, if you're going to go 22 foot ceilings with beamwork like this, you need to have that in your budget. We have to have those conversations day one. So that was actually yesterday. On second one, something not to do again, speaking of tall ceilings and stuff like that, we've done sliding glass doors that they were 20 feet tall, 50 feet long, and, they didn't operate well. And the homeowner invested $500,000 in these door systems and they're not happy. And, it's things like that you learn through this process, and you learn to the manufacturers and whatnot to do. So it's a horror story. And then
The last one is one thing you would always prioritize. So one thing you've always prioritized in a home, and that one underrated detail that makes a big difference. I think you answered the underrated, and then what would you prioritize?
I guess I would prioritize, yourself, not what your friends are telling you should put in your house, not what your neighbors are doing. You probably walk to every house and then they run and sell what they're doing. Prioritize your needs, your goals, build your program to create your dream home, and don't listen to your friends. Most of our clients, we send them the floor plan renderings and they send it to every relative under the sun. They say, one, they're showing off, and two, they're asking for input. And, it's, again, stick to your gut where I started the conversation at the beginning, and do what you want to do and build a team that's going to help train the best on you and your project that you're.
Love it. I love all your answers. They're amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, do you want to take it next and you want me to ask you? Or I can, yeah.
Says, okay, one thing I would always prioritize, lighting is so important. In the Pacific Northwest, windows are great, but capturing the right kind of views for your site is so important, and then how you light that room. So if you're doing 20-foot ceilings, it's really hard to light that room so it feels intimate, and then it also is functional. The lighting happens really early in our design, and so I think it's always good to keep in mind, not just the decorative lighting, but what's happening inside the cabinets. What happens as the shorter days in the winter months? How does the home become brighter inside so it's useful, practical? It is a very, very important element of how people, when you leave with your beautiful design portfolio, how the people that are in the home are using it, and it's practical. One thing I would never do again. We had a client that, this is our third project with them. They wanted to build a modern beach house. My husband and I worked together. He was the architect. I did the interior design. And they basically said, we love it from the first model, and you guys run with it. And they picked a builder, and then they left for a long time. And they said, you guys just, if there's change orders, you can sign them on our behalf. And they really checked out. And we thought, well, it was a lot of pressure because there were a lot of design decisions still to be made. And they would check in and answer questions, but they checked out on some of the change orders and then a financial piece. And then they were surprised at the budget at the end. So we had to sit down and remind them that you asked us to be your advocate in these things. And the foundation was $250,000 because they had to dig on sand, and that was the surprise. And there was just some big numbers. And I think they're still clients and you have a great relationship, but it's not fun to be surprised with the finance piece at the end. And I think just as good as it felt to be asked to be their advocate, I think I learned that I have to make sure that my client's still engaged, that they're paying attention. And that was a hard lesson to learn, but it all worked out. And an underrated detail that makes a big difference. Planning your window coverings early on. What's motorized, what's not? How do we hide, big shades? I know it's probably a lot more in your mic care because you have so much sun exposure, but I think that's one thing that needs to happen really early with the interior design team. That's a finishing touch that should be probably in the background and not the one thing that sticks out, or the client's price again because it's a good budget.
What's the first question?
One thing you would always prioritize.
Flow and livability. The home has to work before it can impress anyone. You've got to have the flow, the livability. The home just has to work before it can impress anyone with the finishes. So that's where I would prefer to focus, and even that over the finishes. So one thing I would never do again, I will never rush the planning and pre-construction phases again. They will take as long as they take to get right. We're a little different. We don't do cost plus. We are fixed price by line item. And we guarantee the price. And so if we make a mistake, we eat it. And so for us, it usually equates to 50 to 70, maybe even 90 pages of scope, all with an individual price per line. It just takes time to get right. It involves the designer, it involves the architect, it involves the engineer. We meet with everyone and present everything, go through the specs with everyone. We just don't rush that because that's where the project's made or broken. Underrated detail, transitions in materials and spaces. You can tell that a house is going to be just absolutely on point and fire when somebody took the time to really think about how the transitions of materials and spaces come together. It's a game changer for the net finish of the house.
I second that.
Yeah, those are two other ones I have. Or just the way materials come together, whether they're dissimilar, how you treat that corner. The other ones, you're right. Lighting is huge. I mean, I think there's a lot of designers in the room. Sometimes you don't need to, splash walls with different materials and colors just to do it. You could do it with just a simple wall wash or a simple skylight. And I think that can be just as playful as, wallpaper. So there's many different ways that lighting is one of the most important tools in our builds.
Thank you guys so much. Your answers have been phenomenal, and I really, really appreciate just the time that you put into thinking through some of them. And now this is going to be a little bit tricky because we only have one mic, but I want to open up. I want to open up the floor. If anyone has questions, if you could raise your voice and let's see if there's. Okay. Oh God. This is my mom. When I said that, this is my mom, Julie. She's an amazing person, and let me just give a little bit of introduction. So. This is a complete side note, but it's something that's nice to speak about. So third generation builder, I had a grandmother that mentored me. I have my mother that mentored me. And I wouldn't be where I am today in this industry without her insight and support in just navigating some interesting experiences that you stayed as a woman and I know a little bit more in man's world next. So.
So I just want to say thank you for all your insight. But there was two things that struck me, and I just wanted to see your feedback. You talk about collaboration, but there's also competition for that budget. How do you deal as a decorator when they've spent so much on the finishes and the design, but they don't have as much for the decorating? Or in a remodel budget, they have all these ideas, but then they haven't left money. And so how do you not compete, but get your point across of what you need in your budget?
See what I'm talking about? She has a great question. This is these raised me. So
Yeah, I'll start because we're usually the start of the problem. It's usually sometimes too late to solve. Some of the things that we set forth for as a builder. That's why having all three of us at the table eating one or two is extremely helpful. Because yes, the sticks and bricks and the concrete and the site work is going to cost what it's going to cost. If a client says, I need to own this big on this lot, there are ways we could do. We through our experience, still working on, hundreds of homes here, we get a range. We can tell you a high and a low number right off the bat where you're going to be on the site, but we do start the problem, and there's things that we know someone has a limited budget, where to start the design, and if someone has a tight budget, where we need to start, that's through trial and error and working collaboratively with a lot of builders.
Yeah. It's a lot of finesse, I think, being on the same page with your team. Yeah, we're usually arm wrestling the architect to, get the window package down a little bit so we have money to do the things inside. I think a lot of times people, well, not a lot, but sometimes people say they don't have the budget. Well, what's it going to cost? And I think it's not a time to start wringing your hands if they go, I bet I did one. It's our responsibility to help the homeowners really understand what they will have to spend to have the look they want. So I think it's, making sure that your team's there. And we are doing a project for ourselves this year. We're remodeling on Malcolm Button out in Central Oregon. And there's no better way to have empathy to your clients as to your own project. And I'd rather do quality work than quantity. So It's okay. If the fire has to come the following year, that's what we do.
So one of the things we do, I mean, one, assuming everyone's involved on day one or as close to day one as possible, that's one of the most important things you can accomplish is have the whole team available. We're fortunate in that, we run 15 to 20 active projects at a time, and we have something like 40 in pre-construction. So we're pricing all of that. We're able to pull real-time data out of our projects and deliver what we call an 80% accurate budget before they've invested in architect, engineering, interior design in any way, shape, and form, and then present that. And it's nowhere near as detailed as the final budget, but there's enough content in there to give everyone a head start and say, gut check, does this feel right? And so we can start adding or subtracting almost immediately without getting so far down the road and then it's triple or double what someone was expecting. And then we update that within reason throughout the process of pre-construction.
That's a great question. Second, Mike.
Wait. Don't let you answer. Hold on. Your daughter has something to say. What's up? I would kind of piggyback on what Nick was communicating. For us as the builder, some people just have no context to what things cost. So giving the perspective on, hey, this house that we build, if there's something that if it job costs X per square foot, just to start with a visual. And then from there, we do operate on a cost plus basis. We're cost plus 20%. So I want people to feel, we are going to take advantage of them to try and do something more expensive because it's cost plus. Here's a relationship where it's going to be transparent and these are the costs you're going to experience. But ultimately, getting them comfortable with the number, then sitting down with the architect, designing to that number as much as we can. And then once we have our schematic design, we sit down, hopefully have an interior designer with us. We sit down as a team, once a client has signed off on that design, and create a budget. And we identify, hey, interior designer, landscape architect, this is what we're thinking the numbers will come in at. As you make selections with the client, please be mindful. And so that way it's a cohesive, collaborative, positive experience.
And the second question that I had, it's totally unrelated, is how are you utilizing AI in your company now? And how is it hurting? I'll give you an example. In our business, we're seeing more and more home buyers that come in and they feed our contract into ChatGPT and come back with a list of the same questions every time. And you can tell it's been ChatGPT. Yeah. So we have to deal with that. But we're trying to utilize AI in so many different ways in our business, from visualization. And how are you embracing that? Or are you afraid of it? Are you utilizing it?
Yeah, we use it at different capacities and for different days, right? I think what interesting thing we've been learning the last couple of months is how many people are coming to us through putting in ChatGPT and Googling architects in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. And refine it. They say someone who does contemporary work or someone who does this super desert work. And it's literally refining that service. They show us like how they came to us when they sit down for years. One of our questions is how you find us. Or it's crazy how many people are doing that. So I think it's a good thing to invest in or figure out how to get in the right algorithm, because it's leading people to some of our business. And then from the design side, if we're using it sparingly to get quick ideas across. So it really comes down to, we can create quick computer generated models, our models with a site and everything, but it helps take the edge off the computerization of some what was more rudimentary old model. So I think that's where the benefit is some clients get lost in computer modeling and they want to see, watercolors, and that's just unfortunately harder and harder to keep up is the old tradition of architecture. So I think it's something we have to refine and continue to bring into the process.
Yeah, I could be foolish to not understand the area or some of its capacities. So we use it in a light way on the design side just to kind of expedite things or maybe put kind of a concept together, something that we're not, or that isn't a great part of the conceptual design. We use it in kind of every little facet of our business. So outside of the design, the original designs is a really important thing to us. So we don't use it for our concepts or home design, but we'll use it on the side of the business for operations and architecture, for training our keeps, to putting together standard operating procedures, SOPs, so we can make sure that everything that leaves our studio is designed with the attention of what we have, which is quality, and just valid consistency. So we use it on everything. We have an AI community, and once a week we talk about things that we learned, and it's changing every week, which is exciting, terrifying.
I'm all in. Like, yeah. I have a full-time, he's transitioning from his role now, a full-time AI and technology. He's got a background in data science already, so he's just nerding out on it. We're writing custom code, custom programs to allow for smoother formatting, writing scope faster, breaking apart architectural plans, design specs, and then cross-communicating between the two to find what's missing or how, what are the counts on things. It allows us to work through plans a lot faster. I mean, it already takes us 4 to 6 weeks on average to put a bid together. So to cut that down. And then at the most basic level, some of our clients obsess over, what I think are the most ridiculous things. And we have 35 questions about 2 different grills, and they can't decide on which barbecue grill they want. And they're both great, right? They're both fantastic. At the most basic level, you throw it into AI, ask it to do a deep dive, give you a summary of the grills, the pros, the cons, the warranty issues. And then you send it over to them. You're like, here you go. And I just saved myself 2 hours of trying to convince them that this $9,000 grill is better than the $7,500 grill. It's, so that's real basic. But I think if you're not in on it, you're hurting yourself in the future. You have to learn it.
Great question. She asked that question like many people in here. AI is set to hyper focus and not get behind and use it effectively. And Nick, just for your reference, is someone that I saw speak at an event a couple years ago. And he just spoke like he did a couple years ago. I need to talk with this guy. Knows so many things AI, but we're looking at hiring someone too on our staff. AI.
Thank you. Those were very strategic questions. And a strategically put together panel. I wanted to ask, are you related to Keith Stratton?
I'm not.
Workout. Okay. Because he's just one of my favorite contractors. That would be cool. I just wanted to thank you just for your thoughtful answers. And Candy, again, for your curation. And I really appreciate, with it in a BIM's world, because I think the hardest thing I've been finding is how to shoulder the responsibilities for my clients as a realtor, and exactly what you said. I want to make their lives easier. At the end of the day, fiduciarily and personally, they get to have the agency, even though, I'm Asian. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you to you. The landscape architecture that you picked for the landscape architecture tour on Sunday was Green Room, and they're just so phenomenal, local company, really beautiful. So I just wanted to thank you both.
Hi, it's Ariana. I'll Clutch Delicate Installation. I have a fun question. What is your most controversial take in your industry? Like a hot take, like I hear this, so do that. I love this. Great price of it, B-Rose.
Yes, for that.
Nick, you have an easy. I know hobbies in this. We'll start. Yeah.
Oh gosh. I guess, the take is like, it's really hard to come up with original things. Like Zalige tile is everywhere and it's so beautiful and we use it still, but I'm like, let's move on, people. I think, coming up with original concepts that are absolutely breathtaking and so understated. The home that we toured on Friday for the Feng Shui event that was on Desert Design Week was absolutely stunning. That's where I met Gene. The architect, he designed that whole, but it was like, something living rooms, top 10.
Yeah, I'd say it's how you get back to a little bit of this, a little bit more texture, organic materials of your home. Throwing beyond from materials that we haven't been seeing for the last 10 years. It's getting away from the vanilla, and I think all the time it's starting to go. But I think it's our expectancy to regionalize our design and not just follow something that came from Florida or from Texas. We need to stay grounded in what makes there something special and not follow trends, even though I know we want to bring back color. I know we want to bring back all these things. We do have to stay true to what makes Arizona special as well. So it's a balance and a fight to Arizona.
Yeah, I don't mind hurting feelings. I guess I'll be the offensive one. So specific to my space, I would not take this stance on new build. But if you can't do fixed price on reno, then you shouldn't be renoing as a contractor. You should be able to guarantee your price. I feel like cost plus is an undisciplined way to build. If you're doing large scale reno addition, you have to be able to know what you're doing, get into it, and then stand behind your price.
And still ponder. I might have to get your number and contact you out there.
Thanks. Yes. That's nice. And we had room for about one more question.
Hi, I'm DB Zenit with the Alori Group. And my question is about communication, high communication specifically. Do you systematize it? There we go. And if so, how?
We are in between programs. Historically, yes, we have systematized it, but right now we're doing it the old-fashioned way on the custom side business. On the luxury production side of Camelot, we do have a systemized approach, but we are in the middle of onboarding another platform. So definitely systematize is great, and having those weekly cadences or whatever it is as far as communication just helps build that trust. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as an architect, we're more of a boutique firm. There's 7 of us. People come to us for the small operation that we are. They don't come to us because we're larger. So I think there's something personal, intimate, we kind of hire us, that the communication flows usually through me for the first couple of months through designs, having the backcourt dialogue. And we're really touching base once or twice a week in meetings and design stuff. So from the first 2 months, it's a dialogue, not a report. It's not, it's really just becoming friends and understanding how you want to live your house. So that's what's unique about us and our size. I think when you scale, you do have to systematize. You do have to have teams and operations and layers to this. But once you get in the production phase and our team starts to grow, you get your weekly updates and you get your weekly reports from us. And that probably bleeds down for builders and how they are.
That was a shot at that. It was that question. I'm the same. So in my role in the custom division is really onboarding clients. We get to a point of when the house is built, or when we're, at a point where it's just more updates, that's when we do the weekly. But absolutely, relationship building is as important to me as building a house.
Question for a question on that?
And I have a question for it. Has it been? So, what is a typical day in your life? A week? How many projects are you working on at one time? What is the real slowdown for an architect?
Big slowdown by all of this is change, right? And it's spending 2 months with a client and then waking up one morning and saying, I'm not on the second floor of my house anymore. And that is this week, and you coach them.
That'd be devastating.
And it's trying to hedge off those unknowns. They still come at you. That's how you feel and how you perceive those curveballs that, keep our team moving forward. So the day-to-day is designing, going, walking site to home, other things, scale, looking at projects like this, understanding what designs they like, and then infusing technology and imagery and all that to overlay their dream and stuff.
What's a typical project take for the timelines fees, APs, 11E?
It's a year. Find the complexity of the project, the site. I mean, we designed with the client. If you came to us with a house, we worked together personally for 2-3 months. Finish your plans, your renderings, you'd be happy with your house, and then it moves on. We spent 2 months in development, 2 months in short documents, submit to the city. So you're about 9 to 12 months to break.
Communication. We're about a 10% team, so each of our clients gets a point of contact. It's not always me. It's sometimes one of our architects or our senior designers, and we touch this at least on some week, no matter if we're heads down drawing or going from schematic design development. We don't have a system per se, but we had a structure that those designers and my team follow. And I think the key points of those are like when we're transitioning from one phase to the next and what that phase will entail.
And they're several months. Like our clients were designed for 4 months minimum to a year and a half. So what we're transitioning to, what they can expect, how it will meet. And if we're on budget or over budget.
Communication, yes, there's an SOP. It basically looks like this. By the end of close Friday, your superintendent, whoever's in charge of your file at that point, will send you an email. It'll go through Builder Trend, which is what we use to manage our work. It'll be, here's what we did this week, here's what we're doing next week, here are the issues we ran into and how we're getting them solved. Same format, every single person, every single time. And then behind that, you'll get a text message, or everyone involved, so owners, architect, interior designers, and then the director of construction will get a text message from the super when it's active of a video walkthrough, and that super will narrate what happened that week while he's walking through the job, taking a video of it, and he will text it. We will not allow you to have discourse and dialogue in that text. Give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, something like that, but bring it back to something in writing. But that video walkthrough shows things that the photos never show. And so that's been a game changer for us. And I got to give the credit to Brad Levitt at AFT for that. I absolutely ripped that off from him, but he's the first person I heard of doing it, and it's been a game changer. All right, amazing panel, amazing discussion, amazing crowd. I think there was about 70 to 90 people here. Really looking forward to seeing how it all comes together, but really enjoyed the time.